Ladies and gentlemen, this is Gail Morgan welcoming you to the Libertarian Counterpoint's Knuckleheads of Liberty podcast. You've heard their point, now listen to the counterpoint.
Welcome to the Knuckleheads of Liberty. We are coming at you on August 25th, 2021. Somehow stumbling through this clinic by the Biden administration on how not to govern a country for about 8 months. But before we get into any of the topics today, I want to let you know this is going to be a sort of a special show focused more on an interview with Gun Owners of America. So it's a little more focused on the Second Amendment this show. So let me introduce you to our panel. In our upper left-hand corner, we have Leon, the word Brathwaite, last word in Liberty. He is a retired engineer from the state of California. In our upper right-hand corner, we have our screaming eagle of freedom, Tim Everett. He is a pilot in the state of California. And in our lower left-hand corner, we have our special guest today, Sam Paredes. He is the executive director of Gun Owners of America. And so he's going to tell us a little bit about that today. And I guess we'll jump right into it. So, Sam, you want to tell us a little bit about the mission of your organization and what you guys are about?
Yeah, Jason. First of all, it's an honor and a pleasure to be with you. I routinely respond to Knucklehead when I hear the sound, so I feel like I'm with kindred spirits. I'm actually executive director of Gun Owners of California, and I'm a member of the board of directors and secretary treasurer of Gun Owners of America. Gun Owners is the oldest pro-gun political action committee in the country. And people say, well, NRA's been around since the 1800s, and other groups have too. But when Congress in California invented political action committees after the Nixon Watergate thing and came up with campaign financing and reporting and all of that stuff, our founder and chairman, Senator H.L. Richardson, created Gun Owners of California and Gun Owners of America in order to be ready to respond politically in defense of the Second Amendment. So we have a very long history. We do only three things. We lobby in the legislature and in the Capitol. We work in elections nationwide, from president, U.S. senator, congressman, and state legislative offices. And we work in the courts. We file lawsuits through Gun Owners Foundation, our legal foundation, or we join with other organizations in order to submit amicus curiae, friend of the court briefs on lawsuits all over the country, and especially the Supreme Court. So we have a small staff. We are all gun owners, all shooters. Most of us are hunters. But most importantly, we are all soldiers in defense of the Constitution, freedom, and liberty here in America. And we believe that the foundation for that is the Second Amendment, and that's why we've chosen to dedicate our lives to fighting to protect it. That's the long way around the barn for us.
Okay. And just curious, how does your organization really differ from the NRA? Because usually, for those of us who aren't, super into, I guess, guns, we hear every time the news comes out, it's always the NRA that we hear about. It seems like so. Yeah.
And that's a very good and fair question. The NRA does a lot of things that they're very good at that we don't involve ourselves in. They do training of law enforcement and private individuals and military folks. They offer insurance programs. They offer their annual shows where they introduce new products to NRA members nationwide. They do all kinds of stuff. We focus strictly on those things that are directly related to defending and protecting, and in California's case, restoring the Second Amendment. So, doing the elections, doing the legislative lobbying, and the courts is where we focus all of our attention. We are all political activists, political professionals, and we've been doing this for a long time. I've been associated with gun owners since 1980. So right after kindergarten, I went to work for Gun Owners, and I've been doing it ever since. and it is significantly different. We have a motto: we are a no compromise defender of the Second Amendment. There is nothing that we will compromise on, and sometimes that differentiates us with other organizations. But we believe in the purity of the Second Amendment, the words that our founding fathers wrote at the founding, and what they intended by the text, history, and tradition of the meaning of those words. And that's what we do when we fight. We are absolutists. We are like I said, no compromise.
Sam, do you guys support litigation? I mean, there are some important cases before the court right now, going through the court, and there's one case before the Supreme Court right now. Do you guys support litigation in any way?
Leon, absolutely, we do. We have written multiple amicus briefs to the United States Supreme Court in the case of the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association case that they have accepted, that they're going to be hearing here in a few weeks.
Yes.
We have a decision probably in the late spring of next year. Gun Owners Foundation, Gun Owners of America wrote a brief, and then Gun Owners of California. They call us the amicus brief wranglers. We got together with a lot of other state associations and raised money in order to make sure that the voice of law enforcement, most of the people who are on board with our amicus brief are members of law enforcement who support the Second Amendment, including the New York State Sheriff's Association, the New York Police Officers Association, a whole lot of law enforcement groups. You know, I love police officers, I love cops, deputies, and they're very good at raising money for retirement dinners, but they're not really good at raising money for lawsuits. So
right.
we take that role on in making sure that their voice is represented. So yes, we are in total support. New York State Rifle and Pistol Association case has to do with concealed carry, and the fact that New York City, although they have a concealed carry law, they don't issue concealed carry permits.
Right. Yes.
Open carry is illegal in New York, so it's a very, very important case. And Leon, not so much just because of the issue of concealed carry, but what we are specifically asking the court to do. Ever since Heller versus Washington, D.C. and McDonald versus Chicago, many of the lower courts have been giving the court a single-digit response in the cases that they have ruled, and they've been ignoring the direction that they should not use balancing tests. So we are asking the court to rule definitively that appellate courts and district courts can only use the text, history, and tradition of the meaning of the words in the Second Amendment on Second Amendment cases. No longer will they be able to use rational basis, intermediate scrutiny, or even strict scrutiny. It has to be, what did the Second Amendment mean then? So again, long way around the barn to answer your question.
No, it's a very good answer. I really like it, because it's always been one of my concerns is why society at large see the First Amendment and the Second Amendment as different. They are both part of the Bill of Rights, but yet everybody think we could just trash the Second Amendment, but we must make sure that our free speech rights are preserved. Well, even the First Amendment is under attack these days. So it makes you wonder why we are moving in this direction, and I hope some of these cases that are before the court will bring back some sanity back to the true meaning of the Constitution.
Amen to that, brother. That's what we are fighting for, is sanity and clarity, and a strict adherence to the written word in the Constitution. No longer will we support, want to live under judicially created theories on what the Constitution means. The Constitution is clear. It's clear. And we need to follow the letters of the word of the Constitution, and that's what we are supporting.
Sam, I have a question for Sam. It's regarding the idea of these litigations that are going on. It's been a number of years here recently where I've seen that it's so frustrating with legislation part of it that is coming out, especially California, but even the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens a lot of times is, these states seem to throw stuff up against the wall to see what sticks constitutionally. So they make these laws hoping that they are not going to be challenged constitutionally. Right. So with that in mind, your your organization, would you give a rough estimate of where do you see the most amount of success, Second Amendment success? Would it be in the political legislative process, or would it be more in judicial after the fact? Okay, so because it's one thing to prevent a bad law, and it's another thing to reverse with a court decision a bad law. I mean, they're both good outcomes, but would you say you have more frequently good outcomes in the prevention of bad laws or in the reversal of bad law zone?
Yeah, you're asking me which of my kids do I like most? Do I love most? I love them all.
Oh,
and,
I don't misunderstand.
It's a great question, and it
needs
to be answered.
How many more kids do you have? Do you have more kids in the judicial process or more kids in the prevention? You love them all the same.
Yeah.
I understand.
So let me tell you why we have a significant focus with experts in each of the areas. Number one, in the legislative process, we have lobbyists that go and talk to members of Congress, members of legislatures throughout the country. And let me tell you, in over 30 states where we have shall issue on concealed weapons permits or constitutional carry, where no permission is needed from the government for somebody, a law-abiding citizen, to carry a concealed weapon in those states. So we've had great success in many states in passing really good laws. California, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, not so much, but we haven't given up there either. So we are going to continue those efforts, and we are gaining more and more states that are flipping to that side. So that is a successful path that we are following. In the Congress, it is so important to continue to bring these issues up and have them sponsor all of these crazy bills, because when the public sees what it is that they're doing, all of a sudden they go from passive gun owners to rabid Second Amendment supporters, because they say, what do you mean the Congress wants to get rid of my guns or force me to turn these things in? What do you mean they want to take away public resources for law enforcement agencies and take my guns away so that I can't protect myself? So that's an important thing. And when we get them on voting records, then we use that in their campaigns. I think that a lot, and probably slightly more emphasis is being placed into the legal arena, because that is where we are going to win some of the major victories that's going to drive what we do in the legislative and the elective process. If the court rules positively in the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association case and rules on scrutiny, we are going to have the upper hand to be able to sue to overturn many, if not all, of the gun control laws that are on the books in states throughout the country and within the federal government. So that is an important thing. And our supporters in the Supreme Court, people argue, well, last year, 2 years ago, they had an opportunity and they passed on a dozen cases that they could have taken. Well, we believe that they were doing so because they wanted to guarantee that they had an absolute majority of pro-Second Amendment supporters on the court. And they weren't quite so sure about Justice Roberts, where he might land, because he doesn't like to create controversy. So they were waiting, and thankfully, President Trump appointed 3 staunch supporters of the Second Amendment, and now we have a very strong pro-Second Amendment majority on the United States Supreme Court, and we want to fight back. As Justice Thomas said, the Second Amendment has been treated as a second-class right for way too long. And we need to address it in the United States Supreme Court and come with a definitive ruling that establishes the Second Amendment as one of the premier rights that guarantees our ability to fight for freedom and liberty in America. And I think what's happening in Afghanistan right now is waking up a lot of people. What do you mean the Taliban is going door to door and taking guns away? Because they're telling people, oh, we are here now. You don't need to protect yourself anymore. You don't need these guns.
Yeah.
And people are thinking, wow, can that ever happen here? Yeah, it's happened here in California. It's happened in New York. So yes, it can happen here. And that's why we're so engaged in this thing. And Tim, the courts are extremely important, probably by a significant margin, an important area where we're concentrating all of our time in the fight.
You know,
Right.
you talk about things not happening here. I mean, we had a presidential candidate, Beto O'Rourke from Texas, who was around the country telling, he said in a debate that yes, he's going to take our guns. Which, I mean, it's true he didn't win, which is good, but like these people don't keep forgetting that we have something called a constitution, and that we all need to live by. But these gun control Nazis, I would have to say, seem to think that they could decide which one of the amendments we can live by and which we have to just trash out of hand.
Yeah. Leon, you're absolutely correct. If you listen to the words that come out of the Speaker of the House and the President of the United States, Senator Schumer, you would think that the government is poised to come and take our guns away and ban guns, ban possession, ban magazines, ban ammunition, curtail hunting, target shooting, use, defense in the home. The words that are coming out of their mouth are doing exactly what you're saying. They're treating the Second Amendment as a non-existent right that we have. That our founding fathers said, hey, this right pre-existed the creation of this country.
Right.
The Declaration of Independence said that we are bestowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights, and this is what they were referring to when they wrote the Second Amendment. That this, the right to defend yourself, your home, your business, your travels, your family, and your country supersede. Were there way before the Constitution was written. So thank you for putting it so eloquently. Yeah.
Sam, there's something I wanted to ask you about. You mentioned the example of what's happening in Afghanistan right now, and then, of course, the example of some of the stuff you hear from New York politicians as well. What kind of sources do you find or examples, materials that might help to convince people of the importance of the Second Amendment? Because like you'd mentioned for yourself, you were sort of right out of kindergarten, right? So but is this tend to be people in your organization who are, I guess, sort of born with sort of gun-owning families, or do you get a lot of converts and stuff? And how do they get there?
Jason, right now, Gun Owners of America is their growth is exploding exponentially. And we're finding that many of the new members and supporters and activists are actually first-time gun owners who have finally realized it took Afghanistan, it took COVID, it took the riots in the cities and the streets to wake people up and make them realize, oh gosh, what am I going to do if this riot comes to my front door? How am I going to protect myself? All I have is a kitchen knife and a bar stool. And they realize on their own that a firearm is probably the best tool to protect themselves in their homes, in their businesses, in their travels. And they're buying guns in record numbers. So much so, everybody talks about the shortage in ammunition that exists nationwide. Well, when you take into account the millions of new gun owners that we have in nationwide and here in California, and if the average gun owner buys only 2 boxes of ammunition, you're talking multiple millions of boxes of ammunition that are being purchased by new people that weren't purchasing last year or the year before, and that puts a strain on the economics of the delivery of ammunition to the marketplace. So thankfully, ammunition manufacturers are starting to catch up. But the point is that the fastest growing percentage of people that are becoming activists on the Second Amendment are new gun owners. More than half of them are African American and Hispanic. and more than half of those are women. So there is an awakening that is occurring, and all they have to do is watch what happens on the mainstream media. Although I don't recommend that for anybody's mental health to watch mainstream media news, but
Yes.
when they are exposed to it and they see these things happen, they are coming to their own logical conclusions that, hey, I need to buy a gun and I need to know how to use it. So yeah, it's a big deal, man. Big deal.
You raise a very interesting point about self-defense and the awakening. But on the other side of that coin, you see the government standing in our way. I am sure you're familiar with the case of McCloskey's out of St. Louis, Missouri, who were defending their property during the riots. The people broke down, the rioters broke down a gate, a private gate, got on a private property. The people pulled out their gun to defend themselves, and they were prosecuted for it. Okay? And I mean, to me, that is quite frightening to be happening in this country. Okay, I mean, I don't know if some of these people think we are living in Afghanistan under the Taliban or something, but it's quite frightening to see that people are defending their private property and then turn around and they're prosecuted. This is unbelievable.
It is, Leon, and it's too bad that they live in a state and in a community that is so anti-Second Amendment, anti-constitutional rights,
Right.
very heavily, not even leftist, they are radically leftist leaning leaders of the state, the attorney general, the district attorney, the city council, and they don't care about individuals' rights, and they don't care about the Constitution. Leon, as a matter of fact, when I was testifying before a committee here in the state of California, the chairman of the Public Safety Committee said to me, well, when we were testifying about the constitutionality of a bill, he said, well, we here in California, we don't pay attention to the Constitution. We just do what we think is right. And I've been doing this for a very long time. I think that's the first time that I was completely speechless, but it tipped the hat of the way these people think. They don't care about the Constitution. All they care about is moving their agenda forward. And the term gun control is more about control than it is guns. And that's why they work. So
like I say, they just want to throw stuff up against the wall to see what sticks.
Yes.
And we ought to, instead of calling them Nazi gun control zealots, we should call them Taliban gun control.
Yeah, that's As a matter of fact, even more radical than that, they are the Al Qaeda leaders of gun control in America. They are the fanatical, dedicated people who are willing to give their lives to achieve their goal of gun control and disarming America. But you know what? Those people, they accept the fact that they are travelers in this process. And although they might not achieve the results that they want achieved, they are willing to sacrifice themselves in the process of the long-term gain. It's taken a long term for America to come to the point where we are now on the issue of the Second Amendment, because there have been some very dedicated anti-American, anti-Constitution, anti-gun people that have dedicated their lives to destroying the Second Amendment, and we understand.
Sam, as we're getting close to the end here, I wanted to give you a chance real quick to say, for people who are just sort of discovering the Second Amendment right now, how can they best get involved in defending it, either through joining your organization or other possibilities? Maybe you could give a few insights into that.
Sure. For people in California, our website is scrolling down below the screen, www.gunownersca.com, all one word, gunownersca.com. If you're also interested in national issues and issues throughout the rest of the country, go to www.gunowners.org, gunowners.org. That will give you resources and news and information on how you can get involved, where you can get involved, people to contact, resources you can use for your conversations with your friends, your family, your legislature, your elected officials. and be a part of this fight. You know, the worst thing that can happen is that we have a lot of gun owners that sit on their couch and say, "Yeah, I'm fighting for the Second Amendment. I believe in everything," but they don't do anything. If you get up and get involved, even if you do nothing more than send $25 or $35 a year to an organization that is actually fighting for your rights, you've done more than the vast majority of Americans. And that is how you can get involved. But to any level that you want to participate, we are open to have you join us in this fight. Again, it's just the lobbying in the legislature, it's the elections, and it's the court cases. That's where we're going to get the Second Amendment restored, and then we can fight to protect it. So join us. The fight has been raging and is raging now more than ever.
How about should they argue with their Facebook friends that happen to be Taliban gun control zealots?
You know what? Don't waste your time with people that are Taliban, Al Qaeda, gun control zealots. Talk to the people that are just your friends and your family, your co-workers, you know, friends that you even meet at the gun range who are not quite so informed. They might be informed on the guns and the calibers and the bullets that they're using, but they might not be informed on how to protect that ability to enjoy those things. Talk about this with people who you have a chance of converting, spreading the gospel of the Second Amendment and liberty and freedom in America. Don't waste your time with the people that are hardcore. They don't qualify as knuckleheads. They're total enemies of freedom and liberty. So don't waste your time with them. We got a lot of friends.
All right. All right. That's good advice.
Indeed.
I've learned that myself.
Indeed.
Well, you know, I don't think we're going to make it to our Knucklehead Noise Patrol, but really quick, I just was curious, what are some of the, I guess, pressing issues you see coming up, I guess, you know, maybe challenges in the future on this topic?
Real quickly, at the Capitol in D.C., they're proposing a bill that would actually ban the possession of a bunch of firearms. They've got bills that will ban the possession of magazines, standard capacity magazines that hold more than 10 rounds. It's like requiring people to put only 2 gallons of gasoline in their cars, even though they have a tank that can hold 30. It doesn't make any sense. So there are definitely issues there. We're fighting the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms as they are now changing the definitions of terms in order to achieve their gun control goals. Throughout states, all across the country, we've got some states that are fighting to implement constitutional carry. If you live in one of those states, we can point you in the direction on who to participate with. Here in California, join us. We got everything. We are the mixing bowl of mush with regards to the Second Amendment, and we have a fight that's we got the fires and we got the fight on gun control, and they're both on the same level. So we invite you to join us.
Indeed.
Well, we're just about at the end of our show, but thank you so much, Sam, for joining us on this episode of Knuckleheads of Liberty. And if you're at all interested in the Second Amendment issue, we definitely would like you to go to Sam's website and check them out there, Gun Owners of America. So that's the end of our show. See us the next one. Until then, stay free.
Bye.